The International Monetary Fund is warning that the country's rising debt stock and negative impact of the third wave of COVID-19 could force the country to seek financial support from the fund. This was captured in its latest staff report on the country. George Yaffe has the details.
In this report on Ghana was worried about the third COVID-19 wave and how that could hit our earnings from exports, taxes and inflows. It argued that these developments may push Ghana to seek additional financial support from the IMF, which could be captured under a program, or seeking support from other areas like the capital market. The warning is coming at a time that the IMF and the World Bank are carrying out their own assessment to establish whether Ghana can be classified as being in financial distress or can pay its debt back on time. For some economists, the third COVID-19 wave poses a major threat to the economy, and it will be interesting to see how things will shape up for the rest of the year and even going into 2022. In the same report, the IMF was also worried about the current economic recovery, describing it as not being evenly spread, as some sectors are yet to pick up strongly because of how it was badly affected from last year. The IMF was of the view that the recovery in these sectors are crucial because of how they positively impacted on the livelihoods of Ghanaians, and that is why they are worried about how this recovery could be described as fragile.
Let's stay on this matter because we're joined via Zoom by the head of finance department at the Valley View University, Dr. Williams Pepra, with some analysis. Doctor, we're so grateful that you joined us. What do you make of the assessment by the IMF, the fact that we could get back to them seeking help?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers. The discussion, from my simple analysis in the past, I have always maintained that looking at the trajectories of our financial situation, Ghana must seek a cheaper source of funds. Ghana is a member of the IMF, and the current situation requires us to go to them for some funding. During the around March last year, when we shut the country down, we received about $100 million from the fund to support our operations. And as we see what is currently happening in the country with the strikes, with the Guta agitation on the new taxation enforcement policies, this is requiring that it may affect the country. And in that case, Ghana must seek some funds, go to the fund and draw from it. The fund is showing that it has about $1 trillion dollars available for countries that want to draw from it. The minister's statement, which was released recently at Parliament, also shown that the country could not raise the revenue that we needed. The 3.32 billion cedis were able to raise 2.28 billion Ghana cedis, which means that there is a shortfall. And if it continues like this, and we're not able to get the revenues in, Ghana will find itself in a difficult position to pay the various loans that we have taken. The Bank of Ghana report, which was issued end of June, showed that 76% of our income in terms of funds are used to, of the GDP is used to take care of, or is provided by debt, and which is a major concern. If you have a country and about 3/4 of your funding is on debt situation, which means that we are in distress point.
I understand your drift, but of course, the minority in Parliament, you stated Parliament, is also making the case that seeking, fund from the IMF could be a little bit, reasonable as against going for expensive borrowing. How do you respond to this, especially when the IMF is also saying that the country's economic recovery is not evenly spread?
Yeah, I mean, what the minority probably, what they are saying might have a little bit of sense in it, because our current debt situation, we use half of our inflows to service only interest. So if we are going to raise funds from somewhere to support the country, we should go to a fund that its interest rate is very, very low. If you cannot get an interest which is very low and go to any source to get some funds, it will put our country in another and in a very difficult situation. So I've been saying it's very difficult for the country because of the politics behind any country, any government going to IMF.
All
But
right.
we are members of the fund. The
So
fund is when
from your
you think that.
perspective, so from your perspective as an economist, what should we do now in the medium to long term?
First, we should present our COVID case to the fund. The fund has some funds available for COVID situations. We benefited from the first $100 million. We can go to the fund and tell them that our cases are rising and it's affecting our economy. There is a danger that possibly we might have to whether do another lockdown if the cases don't go down. Then the fund can consider. Whilst we also find a way to strategize in reducing our expenditure. If the government is able to reduce the expenditure, which I think is very difficult now because of the numerous strike actions, we know that now the university lecturers are on strike, and we have also heard of Good are also resisting some measures from enforcement rules through the tax enforcement. These are signals that we have to be careful. I'm sure the moment government gives in to the university lecturers, other institutions will also follow for increment. And in effect, we will not have the money to pay. So we have to start talking to IMF. And it's good that even IMF is not waiting for Ghana to apply, but they are doing their own stress test analysis and trying to make sure that we have some money available. Let me give you what happens. What IMF does is that IMF looks at the global impact. Should Ghana be affected financially in a high financial distress, what will be the ripple effect in West Africa? Because don't forget that in West Africa, in terms of numbers, Nigeria has the numbers, but in terms of other businesses, Ghana is controlling the businesses. And if Ghana should be affected, it's going to have a ripple effect in our economy, especially West Africa. So that is why IMF is paying much attention to our situation. We shouldn't let the politics of going to IMF and this NDC, NPP matter. But the situation is that is the only place we can get a cheaper source of funds. And you might even get interest-free loans from them, which will help us to sustain ourselves for the foreseeable future. So that is what I think that we have to do. I know that once the government decides to go to IMF, people will be talking about "we told you so" and you couldn't manage the economy. But this is not about managing the economy. This is about survival,
All right.
sustainability. That is where we have to look at.
We're so grateful for your inputs there on matters regarding Ghana's rising debt stock and the various warnings from the International Monetary Fund.